Hey guys, welcome back to the Joy of Wrenching. I'm your friendly neighborhood mechanic, and today we've got this 2002 Mazda B4000, also known as a Ford Ranger, in the shop, and it's got a problem with this here power window. The power window is not going up and down like it should. It's very slow, and now it won't go up. If you're having this issue where you can't get it to work very well, I'm going to show you how to replace the power window motor and regulator on this Ranger or B4000. It's really easy, so come along and let's get into it. So the first step in getting to that motor and regulator is to take this door panel off. So you've got Phillips screw here, and then two underneath the door handle right here, and they kind of come in at an angle almost up, so pay attention to that for when you put it back together. Okay, now that you've got these two off, you can grab hold of this piece and just take it off. Okay, this has their window switch on it, so we're going to go ahead and leave that alone, but you have to take that off to get to this last screw right here. This is the last screw that holds this door panel on. There we go. Okay, now that the screws are all taken off, you can just grab the door panel and lift up and pull it away from the door. See, a lot of people will show you taking this all apart, taking these switches all apart to get them out of the way. Let me show you the easy way. You just take this whole panel and feed it through, and now you don't have to worry about, let me set this aside. Now you don't have to worry about taking the switches apart and then putting them back together so that you can move the window up and down. Okay, so the door panel's out of the way. We've still got our switches hooked up here so that we can move the window, and again, it's not wanting to move very well, at least not without some help here. Come on. There it goes. See there? So we got a bit of a problem. Oh, I think I can. But as you can see, somebody's been in here before. We've got some random pieces of duct tape and some sort of orange paper tape. But what we want to do is we want to take this dust shield and kind of peel it back. And the reason why is you can see here, here's our window regulator and the bottom of the window, and let me push this window up button and you can see how that works. It kind of goes up and down. Well, when it's working, it goes up and down, and this regulator slides in a little track right there. Now you might think that it's having trouble going up and down, the whole window going up and down, because it's not got enough grease in it, but obviously that's not the problem. So here's what we're trying to get to, and you can see this arm right there. And so we need to get this motor and regulator assembly out of the door. It sits right in here. Let me peel this back a little bit further. And is riveted in place. You can see these little silver rivets. Those hold this thing in place. And sits in there kind of like this. And so we need to remove those things, and then we can remove this old one and then slide the new one back in. So now the first thing we need to do is just unplug the window motor. And so you can get this little plug right here, put a screwdriver underneath that lock and pull it apart, just like so. Now the window motor is unplugged. And by the way, this is a great time to test out your new part, because as you know, sometimes new parts come and don't work. So we'll plug it in and make sure that it's not a problem with our switch that's going on, right? So here we go. Let's get the switch out of here, and we'll go up, down, no problem. It's working just fine, isn't it? So there's a good indicator that there's no problem with your switches, and sure enough, it's a motor issue. Now that the motor is unplugged, we're going to have to remove the rivets that hold this assembly back behind there. See, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 rivets that are right here holding this assembly in place. Now notice on these rivets you've got a nice aluminum outside, and then you've got this little piece right here in the middle. This middle piece is steel. You got to remove that so that when you drill this rivet, it's not going to try to walk off of the center. So in order to remove that steel center, get yourself a punch that's about the right size. You want to set that right in the center there. Get a hammer and tap it through, just like that. Okay, now whenever we put the drill bit on that, let me show you. That drill bit is going to stay centered and just drill the rivet. Like that. Now there's no rivet. But if I try to drill this with that piece of steel there, it's going to try and walk off the edge, and it won't drill that rivet very nicely. So always remove the core of those rivets. Okay, before we remove all of these rivets, I want to move this window to sort of middle of its motion here. So let's see if we can get it to go up just enough. Come on, window. Work with me here. Come on, window. You know what? I'm a dummy. It would help if I plugged it back in. I'm gonna leave that in there because, you know, that just goes to show you that, you know, we do stupid stuff sometimes. But I'm gonna move it to, you know, somewhere around here. And the reason why is because I've got to get all of this contraption out of this hole, but I also need access to that track right there so that I can slide this arm of the new one back in to that space there. Come on, go up just a little bit more. Golly, this thing is just, there it goes. All right, not that high. How about there? That's probably pretty good. I'm thinking that's good enough. Okay, let me unplug it again. Okay, let me go ahead and remove these 4 rivets. So I've already knocked out the cores, the steel cores, and we've got us a nice big drill bit. Don't worry about what size drill bit, just something big enough to drill that hole. And you don't want to go too crazy with it so that you make the hole in the steel in the body panel big. You just want to go through the rivet. Got the chuck. But once that core is gone, that aluminum rivet just like melts away like butter. Just until it starts spinning, and then just get it off of there so you don't make this hole in the body panel too big. Now, before we completely remove all these, once we remove all of this, there's not going to be anything holding that window up. So we want to hold that window up in place, and so we're going to do that with a little bit of tape. So before we take the regulator out, we don't want this window to fall down whenever that regulator is no longer holding it up in place. And so the best way that I know to make sure that that window doesn't fall down is to tape it in place. So just get you some tape and go across the window. Get you some tougher tape than this. And go up the window and then over the top and then back down the window like that, and do that a few times. And what this does is it's holding that window and gonna hold it in place whenever there's nothing down below holding it up anymore. You want to make sure that you get a good amount stuck on the window, not just a little piece, because it's the tension pulling on that thing that's going to hold it in place. Go ahead and go one more time here, seeing how flimsy this stuff is. You could use duct tape or something like that. I like this blue tape just because it kind of comes off real easy. You can use the green stuff if you want, whatever you have available. This is just what I had available, the blue tape. and it doesn't leave any real residue. Okay, now let's go ahead and remove that last rivet and nothing will be holding it any longer. There we go. Okay, so I got all 4 rivets out of the motor and regulator assembly, but see, it's not ready to fall down because it's got one more thing that holds it in place, and that's this little bolt right there. That's a 5.5 millimeter bolt. So we'll go ahead and spin that out. There we go. And you see how that motor and regulator assembly just fell down? So watch up here, and I'm gonna take that thing and move it all the way to the inside of the door as much as I can. I think I'm running into the speaker. All right, let's try and remove that speaker. So we got to use a 6 millimeter to get the speaker off. Okay, so let's remove that speaker just so that we can see what's the hold up inside. Okay, so we got a bit of a problem. Our motor and regulator assembly won't slide any farther towards the hinge because look inside of here, you'll see it runs into this glide path for the front of the window. So come around and look through right here. I removed the speaker and you can see that there's that piece right here that the window slides up and down, and I'm running into it with my motor. So I'm going to undo this bolt right here, which is an 11 millimeter. And what that does is it gives me a little bit of play with that track right there. You see, I'm able to move that track a lot more. And let's see if we can't slide our motor regulator out of this track on the bottom of the window now. Well, that was easy. Slide right out that time. So there's the trick, guys. Okay, so now it should be free. And let's see if we can just fish it right on out of this hole. The hole's big enough. Looks like it should be. Yeah, there's the wire. Okay, cool. There we go. So there's the old one out. And now all we have to do is put the new one back in. All right, so it's time to go back in with our new window regulator and motor assembly, and it's going to go back where the old one came out of. Now, the old one was held in, as you saw, by rivets. Well, I don't have a giant riveter to put those big rivets back in, so a lot of you don't either, and what most of us will do is find a small bolt and nut that we can use to come in here and hold this in place in each of those 4 spots where we remove those rivets. Quick little tip though, it's going to be kind of hard to fish this one in back behind this little lip right there when it's inside the truck. So, and especially this guy down here. So it's a good idea to do this while it's out of the truck and then put a piece of tape over that head of that thing so that it will remain in place while you put it in the car. Hey guys, if you like these videos and I'm helping you out, please do me a favor too and hit that subscribe button. It's not going to sign you up for any junk mail or anything like that, but what it does is it really helps us to reach a greater audience with our video content and help other people out. So thank you guys again for watching. Let's get back to it. Okay, so I need to put bolts in each of these holes. And like I said, it's easy to get to these 2, with the regulator in this position, but it's going to be really hard to get bolts into these holes with the regulator in this position. So let's go ahead and move the regulator to a position where we can get to the back of them and put these bolts in. It's like this right here. And then we want to hold that in place. And the way that we're going to do that is just to take a piece of tape and put it over the bolt on the regulator. Just like so. And that'll keep it from falling out the back. And let's get one in this hole up here now. That, and then we'll put some tape over it too. All right, now let's move it. We need that regulator to be back in this position like so, to where it will slide into that track. So we're going to go ahead and move it back down. Something like that. I need some better tape, or maybe a better way to do that, but that's good for now. Okay, so we've got these two bolts in there, and we got some tape behind them trying to hold them in place. We'll see how well that works. We'll come in here just the way that we removed the old one. Try and fish this thing back through. Let me see. Like that. There we go. Okay. Now the trick is trying not to knock those bolts out. We want to line them up with these holes right here and here and try and get them to come through. Now before we do that, look over here. We got to get this into that track again. So we'll move the whole assembly this direction, and then we'll put this end in the track like that. There we go. Okay, now let's try and line up those bolts. Trying to look through the holes, it's a little difficult to see. Let me look through the side over here. All right, that's a little bit better. Okay, and you got to find one of those bolts. Might help if I had some light in there. There's one. I'm gonna go ahead and start this nut on there if I can. Now these nuts are crimped so that they will not back off. Okay, let's see if we can line up the lower one. And it may take moving the regulator a little bit with the motor just to line that up. So let's see if we can move that motor just a little bit. So you need to go up or down. I've got to plug it back in. Okay, let's see here. Move it up. Is that where we need? Oh, there we go. See how we lined it up? This one down here. There we go. All right. Where's that other nut at? It's down here. Okay. Let's get this one started. There we go. Go. It's a little bit of a fiddly process trying to get all of these things in place. and then we'll hold the back side with a wrench, and we'll buzz this side on and tighten it up with the impact. All right, so I'm going to go on the back here and hold the back with the wrench, and then I'm going to tighten it from the front here, the nut side, with the impact, just because it's faster. Maybe kind of hard to get that wrench in just the right angle so that you can tighten it, but just keep at it. You'll get it. There we go. That one's tight, and again, these are crimped so that they won't back off, and you don't want something to back off. If you can't get one that's got some nylon or crimp or something like that, you might want to put a little Loctite on here so that this doesn't back off and start rattling inside the door. I'm gonna go ahead and tighten up the rest of these, and then I'll bring you back. Okay, so that took some work to get these things tightened in here. Really, you only need these three. This one's going to be a real bear. But let's see if this window goes up and down like it should now. There we go. Going down nice and smooth. Okay. Go up. Come on, you think you can, you think you can. There she goes. All right. Battery may be a little weak. It's been on for a while. I need to tighten up this little track over here again, but everything's looking good now, so we're going to be much better off than we were. Let me tighten this up and put this speaker back in place. All right, so let's test the window now that we've got it all back together. We got these 4 bolts holding the regulator assembly in place. Put the speaker back in, resecured the track over here that the window slides up and down on. And looky there, doing what it's supposed to be doing now. All the way down and all the way up. The battery's a little weak right now, but it's working good. So I'm happy with that. And as I showed, it's a relatively easy procedure, and we can do this just, you know, without having to take too much of the door apart. Now it's time to put this thing back together, and try and reuse our dust shield here. I'm gonna have to get some nude tape to hold it in place, but we will be back in business. So I've got this thing taped back up in place. Use just a little bit of duct tape in the corners or whatever just to hold it in place. Okay, time to put the door panel back on. And remember, we did the easy thing and just fed this through the door panel, so we'll just feed it right back through like so. There we go. All right, now we need to line up this door panel up top here. Try to get your little door lock thing through that ferrule there. Kind of look down in there. Okay. Come up. Get all the little latches in. And then push down, and it will lock into place. There we go. You know that you're lined up when your screw hole here is lined up. So that's looking good. We'll go ahead and put those screws back in. Just Phillips screws. Just like that. Okay. Now take our door panel, our door lock switch panel here, and we'll just set this up in place, and it snaps into place. And we've got 2 screws that hold it to the door panel. Remember, those go in right here and go in at a slightly upward angle. There's that one. And here comes this one. Okay, and finally, we've got the 1 screw down here in this lower corner. There we go. That is job done, guys. Windows working, going down, going up, We need to charge that battery, but it's working like it's supposed to. So hopefully this was helpful to you guys. Fix your Ranger, fix your Mazda B4000 that's got that slow or non-working window motor. And I really appreciate y'all tuning in. Y'all have a wonderful day. God bless.